What's up, everybody? It's the Digital World Podcast. And this is Darren Moore Jr., and he does awesome videos. I'd highly recommend you checking him out. Here, he's gonna show an interview with Jim Rickards, okay? And he's gonna talk about his Ice-9 theory, which I think is very, very interesting. And I'll go ahead and play the clip, and then we can discuss it a little further.
Consequences. The dollar is the world reserve currency. What happens when the Fed loses credibility? Trust needs to be restored on a global level. What better way than to restore trust with a trustless system, with monetary policy baked into the code? A global reset and a new world emerges. From the ashes of the old, a level playing field without reserve currencies.
Jim, is your ICE-9 predictions still in play, or are we past that?
No, it's still in play. And just I'll be really brief. Ice9 is, I nicked it from Kurt Vonnegut, who used it in his novel Cat's Cradle, which I highly recommend. Hilarious. It's a black comedy in the early 60s at a time when we were all worried about the world being blown up by nuclear weapons. But the idea was that a physicist invented Ice9, which is an isotope of water, and it's frozen at what we call room temperature. But if a molecule of Ice9 comes in contact with a molecule of water, the water turns to Ice9. So if you poured a vial into a stream, the stream would freeze, the sound would freeze, the ocean would freeze, the world would freeze, and life on Earth would come to an end. So that's what Ice9 is. But I took that idea and applied it to financial markets and said, you can't shut down one market because, FDR had a bank holiday in 1933, but people don't remember that. He shut every bank in America by executive order. Every bank in America by executive order shut, and didn't say when he was going to reopen them. They were reopened about a week later, but he didn't say that at the time. But the point is, if you freeze money market funds, you say, okay, we've got to run on money market funds. Nobody can redeem money market funds until further notice. And you can do that. Then they're going to go to the banks. They're going to give me my money out of the bank. Whether they're going to have to freeze withdrawals from deposits. Then they're going to go to stocks and sell stocks because people want the cash. And they're going to have to shut the stock market. So the point is, you can't freeze one section of the markets without freezing all of them, because investors will just pivot from one to the other to the next, the same way the ICE-9 molecule, until you have to shut down everything. And I talked about this in chapter 1 of my book, The Road to Ruin, 2016, how the biggest cog in the wheel, if you will, is BlackRock. And BlackRock's not a bank. And it barely avoided being regulated as a systemically important financial institution coming out of Dodd-Frank. But don't think that the lobbying associated with that wasn't, taken to an unheard of level. Larry Fink gets touted as Secretary of the Treasury, but rest assured that if you get into the kind of scenario we just described, that there'll be a phone call to BlackRock and say, you've got to freeze everybody.
The whole system comes to a stop. It freezes. The crypto in my ledger is money that can be sent to anyone in the world.
Okay, and so that's important. So the theory of Ice-9, which he refers, it's a scientific, I believe, theory in which if you had one of those molecules, and like he explained, you put it into, one stream, then that stream goes on and freezes, the next body of water, and then that body of water freezes the next body of water. He applied that to the financial system, and he makes a good point. If banking, they say you can't, if the money markets, they close them down until further notice, then like you said, people will pivot to the next market, to the banks, and then to the stock market, because they're trying to get their cash. So his theory is, well, everything would get frozen. And so BlackRock, which I did a video on recently, they have trillions upon trillions of assets under management. And this is a global company. And so because they're, based on the Dodd-Frank Act, I'm not sure it's there yet, but it could become a systemically important company or institution, sorry. And the reason being is because all those assets that they have, around the world, it makes a huge part of the financial or global financial system. And so if you wanted to freeze everything, well, what other way than to start there, where you're freezing all these assets? And so I do believe that we're coming to the end of the road of the current legacy system. And there's going to be a liquidity crisis. And in that liquidity crisis, you're going to see a crunch for money. And you look at the reverse repo market. Another record high was posted of $1.35 trillion. Okay? And that's just showing you the cracks in the system. The system is faltering. And when banks need liquidity, where do you go if the current system is broken and there isn't any? Well, you turn to technology. And that's why I think Ripple and its native token XRP will provide that, because they have lines of credit that they've worked on, which is a product they have, and it's using the native token XRP. And that's why I think it's important to familiarize yourself with digital assets. And it'll be interesting to see where it all goes. But I do believe we're reaching a crossroads. And the theory of ICE-9, where they freeze all the markets, is valid and legit, in my opinion. And I do think that when push comes to shove, you're going to look for that technology. And that's why I've been talking about blackouts, power outages, because they're becoming more and more frequent. I actually saw a show, it's called La Brea, where they're talking about, LA lost all the power and the city is black. And, that's the way you prepare the minds of people, and you brainwash them to be ready for an event like that. And I do believe that there's a possibility that can happen. And then everything's frozen and you insert the new system, hence the Great Reset. And so all these things are just so interconnected in so many ways. I think that the theory of ICE-9 is very, very interesting and probable. Anyways, I hope this episode has brought you some value. Like and subscribe, comment below. Let me know what you think. And my question to you is, how valid is the ICE-9 theory? And do you think that'd be possible in today's world? Let me know in the comment section below. This is the Digital World Podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.